Okay. So, first of all, very good morning to you all. And I'm little sorry that the reschedule was done very quickly within a short period of time. So, but only I think apart from foundation engineering class, you might be having other classes also for the whole day. So I plan for this class, let me cover whatever has been left over. So that is determination of the file capacity. Then maybe from 5 to 6:30, I will try to cover all tutorial on file foundation. So just to avoid some kind of burden on you. Because morning sessions are very good for theory lectures and second half lectures are very good for tutorials or lab classes. So I hope it is everything is fine now.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you send these slides, sir, before tutorials?
Yes, for sure. Sure. I will
Okay,
do it.
thank you.
Yeah, I will do it the moment this lecture is over. I will send all the lectures. Okay. So yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thank you so much. I will do it. And whatever today I'm going to cover almost 2.5 hours, so that will complete one week. Maybe I will try to finish it up next 3 lectures on 17th. So in between, I don't want to tax you because you'll be having a whole day lecture or the lectures of other class. Okay, so let us go into the topic. We were discussing about how to calculate the file capacity. We have we need to focus on only end bearing capacity determination or only the skin friction capacity determination or the combination of end bearing plus skin friction. Similarly, when you are dealing with the sandy soils, so are you going to deal alone with the end bearing or skin friction or the combination of end bearing and skin friction? So just to recapitulate what has been discussed. So in this slide, it is shown the difference between end bearing and friction. In case of the end bearing, so the pile tip is resting on a strong strata or hard strata or alternatively on the rock, and majority of the load is transmitted only through the pile tip, regardless of the cross-section area of the pile. While at the same while on the other hand, in case of the friction file, this kind of the files are normally recommended in case of the soils where the hard strata is relatively available at deeper depths, where the entire superstructure load is smoothly transmitted to the native soil only by the frictional component, that is the adhesion or the friction that is getting developed between the concrete and the soil material. However, we also understood from the previous class that the friction here in onward it is called as a unit skin friction. Uh, the intensity of the friction that develops in sand is altogether different than the clay. So just to clear your fundamentals, so as you have seen, the coarse grained soils or the sandy soils are the soils where the particle sizes are relatively large. On the other sandy soils are cohesionless soils. So then a question arises is how the friction develops when the soil is a cohesionless soil or when the soil is a cohesive soil. So as a civil engineer, this is a very fundamental thing that you need to understand. Well, when comes to the end bearing, so you may ask a question, sir, will this kind of a condition will not arise in case of the sand and clay? Most likely, no, because the entire load is getting transmitted smoothly on hard strata. So therefore, you don't need to bother about the soil type in case of the sand or clay soils. That is the one of the reason when we have tried to understand different analytical equations for pile bearing capacity, we have clubbed the equations of end bearing plus friction, sorry, end bearing of sand and clay. And alternatively, so we have tried to understand in the last class, let me quickly give you a small idea. So this is skin friction capacity of the pile in sand. So this is in general, the theory proposes that the skin friction linearly increases up to certain depth, that is called as a L dash, that is L critical. So which can be taken as approximately 15 to 20 times of D, and behind this 15 to 20 times.
So your voice is breaking, sir. Hello. So you're not audible, sir.
Yeah. I'm not speaking also. Yeah. So how do you calculate the unit skin friction in sand? So this is the equation. Fsz is nothing but K multiplied by delta V dash multiplied by tan delta. Since we made an assumption that the unit skin friction linearly increases up to certain depth and thereafter it becomes a constant. So therefore, we have to limit the unit skin friction. That's why the Fsz is or shall be less than or equal to Fsl dash. So then to determine the unit skin friction, the equation proposed is K. K is called as a earth pressure coefficient. And if you take at any depth from the ground surface, there exists some kind of the overburden soil. So this overburden soil also has some kind of the impact on the development of the skin friction. That's what is the meaning of inclusion of sigma V dash in the equation. So therefore, if you So if you look at the physical meaning of this equation, sigma V dash is nothing but what would be the overburden soil weight at any given depth. At any given depth, and based on this one, based on the overburden, how the adhesion is getting developed between pile and the soil. That is represented in the form of a tan delta. So tan delta is nothing but adhesion development between concrete and the soil. That is because of the sigma V dash. Sigma V dash. Now, one important thing that you need to understand is I think from your fundamentals of the solid mechanics or the soil mechanics, say this is the ground surface, and if you take at any depth Z, the any position between pile and the soil, it is not the axial stress that is responsible, rather the So at any depth, the adhesion is impacted by the lateral component. So therefore, how do you convert the axial stress into the lateral stress? So that is by multiplying with the earth pressure coefficient K. So that's why if you look at the product of K multiplied by sigma V dash into tan delta, so you have to read in reverse order. Tan delta is adhesion. So this adhesion is developing because of the overburden stress, but this overburden is a part of the axial stress. Therefore, that partition is done by multiplying with the K. So in a nutshell, the adhesion is nothing but a part of the axial stress that is exists at any given depth of the pile foundation. So that's how you can able to determine the skin friction, unit skin friction in sand. And if you want total pile capacity because of the skin friction, then it is summation of S into, or simply multiply the unit skin friction with the surface area, that is perimeter multiplied by the length. So the same philosophy is followed in case of the clay as well. The same philosophy. Now, let us try to understand how to determine the frictional resistance of pile if the pile is located in clay. Now, uh, in case of the sand, as I told, there is no cohesion between the particles. So therefore, the adhesion that was developing is altogether skin friction. So then if this is the cohesion, and usually the clays are represented with undrained shear strength as well, that is cohesion or the SU undrained shear strength. So therefore, instead of taking the earth pressure, in case of the clay, the skin friction is measured in terms of the cohesion or undrained shear strength. That is one thing. Now, second, another important factor about the clay is, in case of the sand, the permeability is so high, so therefore the drainage is very quick, and therefore the sandy soils will not exhibit any kind of consolidation behavior. But the consolidation is very prominent and very peculiar behavior of the clay. So, and this consolidation occurs over a period of time. So just try to imagine when the load is axial load is applied on pile foundation. So this is a pile, and the load is transferred in the form of a skin friction throughout its surface area. Throughout its surface area. That means when the load is getting transmitted to the surrounding soil, because of this external load, this part of the soil might undergo the consolidation process. That means in case of the clayey soils, the consolidation settlement may arise because of the skin friction pile load capacity, or alternatively because of the load transfer in the form of a skin friction. So therefore, when you try to determine the skin friction, then you need to consider another important condition, that is, are you going to consider the consolidation or not? Suppose if you do not consider the consolidation, then what you typically call is total stress analysis, meaning thereby the load that is getting transmitted in the form of a skin friction from pile to the soil. Within the soil media, the load is borne by soil as well as the water component. Although in the due course of time, the same clay might be undergoing the consolidation, but uh, but in that case, we need to determine the skin friction differently, both in the short term and as well as in the long term. So if you determine not accounting for the consolidation, then that is called as a total stress analysis. And if you account for the consolidation, then that would be called as effective stress analysis. So this is what you understood in our soil mechanics: total stress analysis and effective stress analysis. So there are several methods available to determine the frictional resistance of a pile in clay. Broadly, if you look at any the foundation engineering book or geotechnical book, you may get fundamentally three methods: alpha method, beta method, and in situ or board cast in situ. It is irrespective. We use only these three variety of methods for calculating the pile capacity for frictional component. So first, let us try to take one by one. So let us discuss about alpha method. So alpha method, so this method is skin friction that you are predicting with alpha method falls under total stress analysis. And in this, what we do is we try to determine the skin friction. We will try to determine the skin friction, that is called as a FS, F subscript S. Now again, try to recall the fundamental difference between clay and sand. So in case of the sand, the friction development is linked to overburden pressure, and in case of the clay, the friction development is linked to the undrained shear strength of the clay along with adhesion factor. So in fact, the adhesion factor is remains same, both in sand and clay, not in terms of the magnitude but the parameter. Now, one of the important aspect with respect to adhesion factor is, uh, do we need to consider same value of alpha regardless of the undrained strength of the clay? The answer is no. If you look at the variation of alpha, that is adhesion factor, along with the strength. So on the x-axis, that is the strength of the clay. On the y-axis, this is adhesion factor. As you can see from this graph, the alpha value decreases with increase in strength. With increase in strength. So you may pick up the value of alpha from this graph. Okay, so maybe in the exam, this graph will be provided, or alternatively, the value of alpha will be given. So you don't need to worry. So you can use the equation capital QS is equal to summation of the unit skin friction multiplied by the surface area, that is P F into P into delta L, where F is nothing but alpha into Cu. So alpha into Cu into P into delta L. So alpha is adhesion factor and Cu is undrained strength and P is the perimeter and delta L is the length of the soil layer. So you may know that in case of the clay, there may be a single clay layer or there may be multiple clay layers. And accordingly, the value of the alpha and the value of the Cu varies from layer to layer. Alternatively, the alpha So alpha can be calculated using this empirical equation, that is capital C multiplied by sigma naught by Cu power 0.45, and where sigma naught is average vertical effective stress and where C and it can be taken greater than or equal to 0.5 for driven piles. And elevate. So apart from the alpha method, another method that is used to determine the pile resistance in clay is the beta method. So that is beta method. So these are some description about the validity of the beta method. So when beta method is valid for effective stress, when piles are driven into saturated clays, so it is obvious that it is a saturated clay. One can able to anticipate a development of the pore water pressure. So this pore water pressure especially develops during the pile installation or subsequent to the pile installation. So where as and when the load starts getting transmitted to the soil. And this development of the pore water pressure happens all surrounding the pile. And in the due course of time again, many soils. But however, within a month or so, so as the load is getting transmitted, the one can able to anticipate a gradual dissipation of the pore water pressure. So hence the unit skin frictional resistance for the file can be determined on the basis of the effective stress parameter of the clay. Okay, so just compare alpha method with the beta method. So in alpha method, it is valid for the total stress analysis. We simply ignore the development of the pore water pressure. But suppose if you account for the development of the pore water pressure, then we have to go for the beta method. Then that becomes, it becomes In case of the alpha method, the unit skin friction is alpha multiplied by Cu. While in beta method, it is
Sir,
beta. Yeah,
sir, what was SU in the last slide?
Cu is
I mean, there is
undrained shear
SU
strength.
and CU.
Both are same here. Both are same. Undrained shear strength of the clay. Multiplied by sigma naught dash, and sigma naught dash is again vertical effective stress, and beta is again adhesion factor, but the beta can be calculated as using small equation k tan delta pi dash r. So what is pi dash r? That is called as a drained friction angle of remolded clay. Now, a specific terminology that is used is drained. Now, from your soil mechanics concept, you know what is undrained condition and drained condition. And the same we also did discuss during our soil mechanics laboratory. In case of the undrained means we don't allow the water to expel out from the soil sample. But in case of the drained means the water is allowed to expel out. So that's the difference between drained and undrained. So here pi dash r designates that drain. And where k is, that is k is at the pressure coefficient. So somehow if you make a comparison of the frictional resistance of the sand with the frictional resistance of the clay by the beta method, they look bit similar, almost same equation, almost same equation. So in case of the sand also, the equation for, in case of the sand, the equation for the F is K multiplied by sigma V dash multiplied by tan delta. Tan delta. This is for the sand. So this is for sand. And here sigma V dash is the effective overburden pressure. Tan delta is adhesion value. K is at the pressure coefficient. Now if you put this F equation, beta is nothing but K into sigma naught dash into, so tan pi only. Tan pi only. So in case of the sand, we are using the delta, where delta could be 2/3 of pi. Delta could be 2/3 of angle of internal friction in case of the sand. But in case of the beta method, the pi is drained friction angle. Drained friction angle. And K is earth pressure coefficient. So that is here also it is earth pressure coefficient in case of the sand. And in case of the beta method also K is earth pressure coefficient. That how we can see is some kind. Please have a
Hello, sir.
comparison between. Yeah, yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir, your
Yeah,
voice is breaking, sir. Again and again, it
I,
is breaking, sir.
yes, yes, yes. That's why I'm stopping only in between. No problem. There was a network problem from my side only. So whenever the problem is arising, I'm just stopping, then continuing. Okay, so this is how we can able to distinguish the formulas of the frictional resistance between sand and clay. So if you have any questions, please get clarified right now. Anybody has any question? Again, just recall your soil mechanics. You might have discussed about normally consolidated clay or over consolidated clay or under consolidated clay. So we normally don't talk about under consolidated. We always refer with respect to normally consolidated or over consolidated. So then how to determine the K? Because there the K was related to the pile type, the pile material. Let me show it so that you will avoid the confusion. Now see, so here the K is related to the pile type in case of the sand, like board pile, low displacement driven pile, high displacement driven pile, H pile, steel pile, precast concrete pile, so on and so forth. Okay, so in case of the sand, the earth pressure coefficient is related or interlinked with the pile material. In a way, it is pile material. But in case of the sand, uh, it is again, but it is linked to the soil material, not the pile material. So in case of the normally consolidated clays, K is 1 minus sine pi dash R, where pi dash R is drained friction angle. And in case of the over consolidated clay, the same 1 minus sine pi dash R further multiplied with the square root of OCR, where OCR is the over consolidation ratio. And if you substitute everything in the unit skin friction equation, that is F. So this is F. F is 1 minus sine pi dash R into tan pi dash R into sigma dash. So same form of equation like that of sand. So this is for normally consolidated clay. And similarly, if you further multiply with the square root of over consolidation ratio, so capital QS is equals to summation of unit skin friction multiplied by the perimeter, that is P, multiplied by the delta L, that is the length of the strata. And again, whenever you try to deal with the skin friction, it's always summation, because for a given soil, there may be different status. Say one strata may be 5 meter thick, another strata may be 1 meter thick, another strata may be 10 meter thick. So therefore, the total skin friction is summation of the skin friction developed in different soil layers. So this is also not required. Yeah. Now the third method, so we have discussed about alpha method and we have discussed about the beta method. So the alpha method is useful for the total stress analysis, where we did not allow dissipation of the pore water pressure, and alternatively, we also did discuss about the effective stress method, that is beta method. Here, a sufficient time is allowed for clay to dissipate the pore water pressure. Now, apart from these two, the third method is called as a lambda method. So this method was proposed by Vijayavargiya and Foch, and the fundamental assumption in this method is that the displacement of the soil caused by pile driving results in a passive lateral pressure at any depth, and that the average unit skin resistance is, so it means that equation. So this is so the average unit skin friction can be calculated using this small formula lambda multiplied by sigma naught dash plus 2 into Cu. 2 into Cu. So in a sense, the lambda method, since the assumption is for the driving, and during the pile driving, say for example, say this is the natural ground, and say you are driving the pile, so it is obvious that during the driving, so the soil gets displaced in the lateral direction. So when this displacement of the soil So the displacement of the soil in the lateral direction is called as a passive lateral pressure. So based on this concept, so the people have proposed this average unit skin friction, that is lambda into sigma naught dash plus 2 Cu. So this equation. Now here again, what is lambda, what is sigma naught dash, what is Cu? So sigma naught dash is mean effective vertical stress for the entire embedment depth. So we have seen average, and now here it is mean effective. It's not an average. So in the next slide, I will show you how to calculate the mean effective vertical stress, and Cu is mean undrained shear strength when the pi is 0. Then to pick up the value of the lambda, so the tabular form has been given. So it is a function of the embedment length L. So L and lambda. So this table again will be provided in the exam. You don't need to remember. So for a embedment length of the pipe, you can pick up the value of the lambda. So once the average unit skin friction is calculated using the simple equation, and where we know all the terms, lambda is known, sigma naught is mean effective vertical stress, Cu is mean undrained shear strength. Multiply this with the surface area, then what you get is unit skin friction. Okay, so now how do you calculate the mean effective vertical stress or mean undrained shear strength? So this is the equation, the sigma naught dash, that is called as a mean three independent layers, L1, L sigma naught dash, and the corresponding to that particular layer. So you can see, so the profile is in the form of a maybe triangle or maybe maybe rectangle, either triangle or rectangle or parallelogram, whatever it is. So if it is a topmost layer, usually this is triangle, and all subsequent layers it is some kind of the parallelogram or rectangle. So here you try to calculate the vertical effective stress earth pressure distribution diagram, that is area A1 of layer 1, area A2 of layer 2, and area A3 of layer 3. And how do you calculate sigma naught dash? That is the summation of all the areas divided by the total pile length. Summation of all A1, so this is A1 and this is A2. And A3 is area of the earth pressure distribution diagram of the layer 3. Okay, so once A1, A2, A3 are calculated, divide this over the entire length. That becomes mean effective vertical stress. Mean effective vertical stress. Then similarly, the same thing shall be done for CU. Here you can see the how do you calculate the CU, mean effective undrained strength. CU is CU1 into L1, the product of these two, CU1 into L1 plus CU So I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so I will just recall in case of the alpha method, so F is calculated as alpha into Cu, So in case of the beta method, F is calculated as beta into sigma naught dash, In case of the gamma method, in case of the lambda method, so it is lambda into sigma naught dash plus 2 times of Cu, So this is the small summary about alpha method, beta method, and lambda method. Any questions from anybody?
Sir, this lambda method is only for driven files.
It is preferably for driven files. Yes,
Oh,
driven files.
So once can you tell what to choose the lambda values like from the table?
No, it is very simple. See, for example, your pile length is 5 meter, then lambda is 0.336. The pile length is say 20 meter, 0.173. That's it.
Oh, okay. Sir. Like I thought for each layer we need to take a different lambda and multiply layer. It is not like that, sir.
No, no, no. It is not like that. It is a single value.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, others. Others, any questions? Okay. The another part of the pile foundation is now we have seen a pile is installed in sand, a pile is installed in clay. Then what if the pile has to be installed or resting on the rock? So how do you determine in this case? What is the equation? So in case of the rock, so the equation that is used to determine the pile capacity is, so this simple equation, QP is equals to QU into N pi plus 1. You may be, suppose if you look at different books, you may be getting different equations for determining the pile capacity resting on a rock. So there are several equations are available again. So don't get biased only by my presentation. Please refer to, I'm only giving an idea that there is a possibility of pile resting on the rock, because once you become a geotechnical engineer or a civil engineer, then you may be encountering different situations. For example, within the rock, a rock may be very hard rock like a granite, weathered rock where it is a combination of the rock fragments plus soil, or it is a soft rock like a shale or sandstone. So you may encounter any kind of a rock. So depending upon your situation, then the form of the equations might vary. So therefore, the fundamental idea about giving all these presentations are that there is a possibility that the pile can rest on the rock. Now, however, how exactly to calculate the pile capacity depending upon the rock type, then you have to refer to different books, because the information is not available in only one book. So dealing pile in soils is a different, dealing piles in rocks is a different issue. Okay. So, but this is small equation which can be used to calculate the pile capacity. Then, so this is there is something called as a scale effect. Scale effect means basically when you try to any simple word to demonstrate, when you do any laboratory scale, we always conduct the test on a small sample at a small scale level. But in reality, so everything is a bigger size. So for example, we do compaction on a bigger scale. But when you do the compaction in the laboratory, we always do the compaction in a mold of 100 millimeter diameter. That is only 10 centimeter. So there, suppose when you are confining to 10 centimeter, then there are problems like the lateral confinement that is artificially exist, but that doesn't exist in case of the reality. So these are called as some scale effects. So therefore, to avoid that scale effects, what we do is QU designed shall be taken as QU determined by the laboratory and divided by the 5. So usually a factor of safety of 3, or in fact, in case of the sand, we go up to as high as 8. The factor of safety of 8 value 8 can be used in case of the sand. And some information is also available where Q is unconfined compressive strength of the rock. And this unconfined strength is usually determined in the laboratory. It cannot be determined in the field. And depending upon the rock type, you can see how the unconfined compressive strength varies. Sandstone 70 to 140 meganewton per square meter, limestone 105 to 210, shale 35 to 70, granite 140 to 210, marble 60 to 70. Look at, so different rock since the unconfined compressive strength in the laboratory is determined on a small sample, maybe the diameter of the sample is 5 centimeter and length of the sample is 10 centimeter. So from that huge rock mass, you are taking very small sample. So therefore, the QU that was determined in the laboratory, first divided by the 5, that is to account for the scale effect. Then that QU design is used to calculate the permissible or allowable the pile capacity, and if that pile is is nothing but AP means the cross sectional area of the pile. So if you look at this equation carefully, these first two terms are belong to end bearing. First two terms are belong to end bearing, while the last term is belong to the skin friction. In fact, this equation is the combination of end bearing plus skin friction. End bearing plus skin friction. So again, this comprises of the end bearing comprises of the two terms. Either we can consider two terms or only one term, doesn't matter, depending upon the parameters available. So all the terms has been given. AP is cross section area of the pipe. While the last term is skin friction. Since you are dealing with the cohesionless soil, that is sand, the equation is remains same. K PD is nothing but sigma delta only. That is sigma delta multiplied by tan delta, and ASI is surface area. That's it. That is, so what L value shall be taken? The effective overburden pressure critical depth is 15 times of D if pi is less than or equal to 30 degree, and 20 times of D for pi greater than 40 degree. And suppose in case if you are dealing with the railways, then the variation can be restricted to only 6 times of D, and for pi is equals to 26 degree. And delta, that is the angle of wall friction, usually taken as 3/4 of the phi. 3/4 of the phi, and K is coefficient of earth pressure. Remaining everything is same. So then in case
Sir,
of
Sir,
yeah,
what is P delta 1, sir?
P delta 1, this is overburden pressure. PD and P delta both are same.
No, sir, PD1.
Both are same. Effective overburden pressure only.
That means what is the significance? Effective overburden pressure of corresponding layer. What is it?
Hello. Both are same, PD and PD1. Only difference is the PD comes in end bearing term and PD1 case of method, both even end bearing also restricted at certain depth. Okay, that is at 15 times of 20, 15 to 20 times of D. And similarly, the skin friction in sand also assume linear variation of 15 times of 20 times of then followed by the constant. So here both are same, both are effective overburden pressures only. But their coming up position is coming, next is coming in skin friction. That is only.
Sir, means PD we should calculate till critical depth.
Yeah, so maybe this part we can discuss later. So already 9:30. Okay, so this part we will discuss later, maybe in the next class.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, your voice just got